All right, go to the next page. With the coordinate plane, it takes up so much space. You'll see there'll be a point when we're doing this example together where you have to kind of flip back and forth, which is kind of a headache. So I'll try to help you along the way. I'll keep this up at all times because you're going to need to be able to see what we're doing up here as we read the sets directions. All right, I want everybody to start out with number one. Plot the location of -7 and -5, and they even tell you where it should be. It should be in quadrant 3. So if you recall, if you do like the letter C, that's your 1. This becomes 2. Lower left is 3, and then the lower right's 4. So who wants to come up and put where -7, -5 should be? Carly. IV. And the reason why they do it in Roman numerals is so you don't want to get them confused with actual plot points, which are the regular numbers. Okay, put the coordinates in as well. Get into the habit of doing that, like if they tell you. It should get a letter. Also put the actual ordered pair, -7, -5. And it goes in parentheses too. This is the way it gets done. Okay, good. This has kind of got to be routine for you at this point, where if you're given a set of coordinates, you need to know exactly where it needs to go on the coordinate plane. All right, otherwise you'll struggle through the remaining lessons in Module 3. So now we're going to do what's called our first reflection. You know what like a reflection is like when you look in the, you can look at a mirror or you can look at the water and your image reflects back to you. We're going to do that with plot points. So starting with A, we're going to take point A and reflect it over an axis so that its image is in quadrant 2. So automatically we're thinking that our mirror image of A has to be in quadrant 2. So when you think about that, it's got to be the same distance from the X and the Y as point A was. The only difference is you're in quadrant 2. Anybody want to try to come and do it? Nate. All right, let's take a look and see if he's right. Point A, right, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from the x-axis. So then this has got, you see, yes, you have it reversed. All right, erase everything, so we erase it. So we need, what's going to inevitably be point B, is going to be 5 units, in this case 5 units up from the x-axis, and then 7 units away from the y-axis. Okay, is the location correct? Are the coordinates correct? No. The location is good, but it's not 7, 5. Close. 7 and 5 are involved. One of them's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. Which one? Now is he good? Yeah. He is good. Okay? When we did this, it's called a reflection. What axis did we reflect over in order to get into quadrant 2? Niels? Yeah. Right. You went across. The easiest way to remember it is when you went from A to B, you went across the x-axis. It's called reflecting over the x-axis. So that goes there. Yes?
Maybe a Y.
That's coming up. All right, now we're going to be flipping back and forth, right? So go to the next page, but I'm going to stay on this screen so we can see the coordinate plane at all times. Actually, let me flip because I'm going to ask you one more question before we do the next reflection. Which coordinates stayed the same when you reflected over the x-axis? And which ones are different? Carly. Yup. That's it. Say your x-axis, your x-coordinate, which is your first in the sequence, stayed the same. It's still -7. The one that flips value or flips sign is the second coordinate, which is the y-coordinate. Carson.
It won't always be the first one.
Won't always. Depends what you're reflecting over. Yup. You'll see when you reflect over the y, it's just the opposite. That's the connection. Very good. Okay. Let's get caught up. Okay, now I'm going to stay on this page so we don't have to flip back and forth. Okay, so now according to the directions, we have to point or plot point B over an axis so that its image is in quadrant 1. Label it C and list its coordinates. Anybody want to come up and do it? Nick, come up and do it, bud. Yeah, I'd like to actually switch colors. Got it. And they want you to label it C. Looks good. No matter what, when you reflect, it has to be the same distance from Y and the same distance from X. So is it good? Looks good to me. 5 units from the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 7. I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from x. We're good. All right. So now look, which coordinates are different and which are the same. Christian. Good. The x-coordinate flips sign from negative to positive, and then what did the y do? Y stays the same. What did we reflect over? Chad. Yep. Okay, last reflection together, and that's D. Into quadrant 4, in green. Who would like to come up? Hired. No matter what, whenever you do reflections in this case, if you've done it right, you should be in all 4 quadrants the same distance from X and the same distance from Y. The only difference will be which quadrant it's in. Label it D. Do we agree? Positive 7, negative 5. If you've done everything right, here's another way to check it. There should be no other coordinates that you've already listed that are 7, negative 5. Positive 7, positive 5. Negative 7, positive 5. We have one of each. All 4 different combinations of the 7, 5. no repeats, and nothing else left. Both negative, both positive, one negative, one positive, one positive, one negative. What did you reflect over? Reflected over X. Blue, right? What color you doing in blue? Green. Which ones are different? Yup. Very good. I'll go back. I don't think so, because the next page is also tricky. Look at this, I put two E's. The next page is tricky, at least it has been in years past with kids. Because they don't tell you whether you need to go back to the original point or not, so we'll do it together. We'll do half of it together, and then I'll see how you do with the last two on your own. Are you caught up? Flip. Go back. Thank you, yes, you're right. Y coordinate is different, opposite. And then my second statement is completely wrong. The X coordinate is the same. Thank you. Yeah, that's important. Change it on your end too. If you made a mistake with me, change it. Now are we good? Thank you for that. I'm going to simplify the directions for you. You do need to go to full screen. So if you need to refer to your own page to see everything, you might need to do that. There's 4 points on the coordinate plane. Point S is here, L, M, and A. And they give you, up here, all of the coordinates already. And from there, they're going to tell you which point to go to and what to reflect over. And then you'll give the new coordinates. So starting with S, the original location is 5, 3. Agree? We're going to reflect it across the x-axis. Now, if it helps you, sometimes it helps to actually draw the lines. We're going over the x. 1, 2, 3. I have to be 3 units away from the x, but below it this time. And 5 units away from y. So if I do it, you do it with like a little line if you want. You don't have to do it this way, but you could see it. That is now M's or S's reflection. What are those coordinates now? Shane. Correct. 5, negative 3. That goes there. Now I'm going to reflect across the y-axis. Still, no matter what, I've got to be 5 units from y, 3 units from x. But if I go across the y, what quadrant do I wind up in? Hello. How are you? Did you have a good 4 days off? Good. I have one hand up. What quadrant do I need to go into if I'm reflecting over the y? Reflect over the y. What quadrant do I wind up in? Maybe I need to... Quadrant 2 is good. Okay, so, full reflection. I wasn't. I was asking for anybody that wanted an answer other than meals. Am I good? What's the coordinates? Jen. -5, +3 is good. Okay, get ready. Here comes your first double reflection. First across the x. All right, well, I've done that. Then across the y. What quadrant do I wind up in? Carly? I do. Quadrant 3. Carly, what are my coordinates? Yep, -5, -3. One last one. First across the y. All right, I've done that. Then across the x. Yes, I do. Same thing, isn't it? All right, say that out loud. For every single one, yes. That's a good way to check it. Let's do one more together. Okay, now I go to L. I'm over here at -2, 4. And I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. What quadrant do I wind up in? Across the x. Go, Mules.
-2, -4.
Across? What quadrant do I wind up in? Does everybody see that it's 3? Across the x. It's red, right? Yeah, I gotta do red. I gotta go one more, don't I? A little too short. I gotta go here. All right, give it to me again, Meals. Yes. Now, bear in mind, look, these symbols, look at your S and look at your L. These symbols are not necessarily going to be the same because it depends where you start. Now you go back to the original point L, and now we're going to do it across the Y. What quadrant do you wind up in? So if you can get the quadrant, you'll get your coordinates. First. Yes. What are my coordinates? All right, let's see you do this. What are my coordinates for the new L? Close. Not 2, -4, but 2. Yep, 2, 4. They're both positive in quadrant 1. Okay, across the x, then the y. Well, I already did x. Now across the y. And quadrant. Sticks, what quadrant is this? What are the coordinates? And assuming if that's right, what should be automatic for the last one? Jen. Should be the same, but we'll check. You got to go across the y, and then across the x. No, wait. Yep, across the y, across the x. Across the y, across the x. Okay? Try M all by yourself.